best Christmas presents ever. Hello and welcome to another video. We're in the countdown to Christmas now, and last year I did a sort of vague Christmas memories thing. This year I thought I'd do something a little bit more specific, albeit in the same vein, and just talk about some of the best, or at least some of the most memorable Christmas presents that I've ever received. Now don't worry, I'm not going to go with every single year of my life, because that would be a long time, and it's, you know, many of them aren't that interesting, but we'll talk about some of the more interesting ones. Now, one of my earliest memories is, I think I must have been about 4 years old, and I got like a teddy bear, a Rupert Bear teddy bear. It's only quite small, not a big one, it's a reasonably small one, but very cute. Somewhere along the way in my childhood, I think there was some kind of throwing accident and his trousers got ripped. My mother repaired them by basically giving him a pair of denim jeans instead. So he's a very cool Rupert Bear, and yes, I still have him. Oh, don't be surprised, you know I'm a big suck. Again, just before we get onto some other things, an abiding childhood memory is always pretty much the only memory I have from someone called Auntie Con. I'm not even sure she was my auntie, actually, but every Christmas without fail I'd get like a big block of dairy milk from her. Now, you know, it doesn't sound that much now, but it was something I looked forward to every Christmas, because, you know, a big block of dairy milk is bloody huge at that age. I never ate them any other time like that, so that was always memorable. Now, when I was a kid, I used to collect stuff like, I don't know, Star Wars action figures, the Three Investigators books, and the Hardy Boys books. I still have the Three Investigators. I haven't read them in a very long time, but that's about it. Now, moving a little bit further on, albeit still a kid. Christmas '86, you know this story, so I won't bang on about it too much. My brother bought me a Doctor Who book for Christmas. The Savages. For no apparent reason other than that he couldn't think of anything else, even, you know, because it's not like I was a massive fan or anything. But he bought me The Savages, and I read it sometime in the week after Christmas, and for some reason I fell in love with it, and that's where I became a Doctor Who fan, basically. So there you go. Christmas '87, I got 2 Doctor Who videos. Now, I'd had a couple for my birthday, but these were still among the earliest official stories that I ever got. Day of the Daleks and Death to the Daleks. I still remember I watched Day of the Daleks Christmas morning, and I still remember absolutely loving it and being absolutely blown away by the twist, the time paradox twist. And that's still one of my favourite stories. I guess I watched Death like sometime maybe Boxing Day or something like that. I felt that paled in comparison to Day of the Daleks even then, and I have to admit I'm still not a big fan of it now. Now, Christmas 1988, I got a few things. I got The Seeds of Death on VHS, which was only the second Patrick Troughton story I'd seen. I'd seen The Mind Robber earlier in the year via a pirate copy from a new friend, but The Seeds of Death was the first official VHS release of Troughton that I got. I'm not a big fan of the story. I don't hate it, it's okay, but just that cover, that VHS cover, it really gives me this kind of shivery, nostalgic, Christmassy feeling just looking at it, because I can remember just kind of staring at it, you know, on Christmas Day morning or whenever it was before I got the chance to actually watch it. I also got for Christmas that year Terror of the Zygons, which is a classic, and again it's got another wonderfully evocative cover. Just great stuff. I still have Seeds, I still have Zygons, and honestly I'm not quite sure where Zygons is, which is a bit of a bugger. I also got the first big Doctor Who book that I ever got that Christmas in the form of 25 Glorious Years, which I still have. And this kind of kept up for the next few years in terms of, I didn't have much in the way of pocket money, so Christmas and birthdays were godsends for getting me Doctor Who stuff, especially VHSs. Christmas '89, I got the Time Warrior and Ark in Space. Ark in Space I liked. Time Warrior I absolutely loved. And, it's remarkable to say that's 32 years ago. My opinion on those is pretty much exactly the same as it was back then. I still feel the same way about both of those. 1990 Christmas, I got Dalek Invasion of Earth and The Dominators. I thought they were both okay at the time. I'm really not a fan of The Dominators now. That wasn't the only thing I got for Christmas that year. I also got a VHS double pack of the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. And that was actually the first time that I'd seen Ghostbusters 2. Because even though I'd started going to the cinema a bit more often in 1989, I mean, I went as a kid a few times, but I hadn't been for about 5 years, I guess, when I started going. Because we didn't have one near us. We had to go into town. 89, me and my brother started going together, and I saw quite a few movies there, like Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, and Batman, and Back to the Future 2. But I didn't see Ghostbusters 2. So that was the first time I ever saw Ghostbusters 2. I'd seen Ghostbusters. But yeah, and I really enjoyed Ghostbusters 2. It's not as good as the original, but then few things are. But it's still a very fine movie. It's classic 80s comedy. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Christmas '91, of course, that was the first Christmas in Australia. Can I make a confession here? I still can't, even after 30 years, I still can't get used to having Christmas in bright sunshine and hot weather. It's just not right. Christmas '91, I didn't actually get Doctor Who videos. Shock horror. What I actually got on video that year was V, the original miniseries, and the second miniseries, The Final Battle. That was the first time I'd seen most of that, because I remember V starting in the UK. They showed the whole thing. They showed both miniseries, I think, in 1984. They stripped it over 5 nights on ITV. They were basically competing against the Olympics, as I recall. And we watched the opening night, which was, I think, would have been the first part of the first miniseries, and me and my brother, we loved it. And then we went on holiday. We actually went on holiday, so we missed the rest of that. So it took till Christmas '91 and the official VHS release to actually see those. I watched the subsequent TV series, but I never saw the rest of the original miniseries or the second miniseries until Christmas 1991. I don't know what was going on with Doctor Who then. I guess V was just more important. Blasphemy. Now, Christmas 1992. There's quite a few things in Christmas 1992. In terms of Doctor Who VHS releases, I got The Claws of Axos and The Three Doctors, 2 John Pertwees. I wasn't a big fan of The Claws of Axos. I'm still not. I absolutely adored The Three Doctors, and I still love The Three Doctors. I think The Three Doctors was out like late '91 in the UK. It shows you how long it took for things to come down here. Three Doctors was Christmas '92 for me. That's like a year later. That's terrible. But honestly, as much as I loved The Three Doctors, my 2 favourite Christmas presents that year were actually something completely different. They were 2 blank tapes that weren't blank anymore that a friend in the UK sent me over for Christmas. Now, he didn't send me anything first Christmas that I was over here, but he told me in a letter that he was sending me something. And I sent him something in return. He didn't tell me what it was. It was a surprise. And there were actually 2 videotapes that he sent me of stuff that he taped off air in the UK. The first one was the entirety of season 5 of Red Dwarf, which had not been shown in Australia yet. So that was fantastic. I remembered this. I didn't actually realize until I kind of checked up recently. Yes, I keep records on this sort of thing. Shut up. I didn't realize it was a Christmas present. I know I remembered that he sent it to me, but I didn't actually realize it was a Christmas present, but it was, and then it all kind of came flooding back to me. And I watched it 2 days after Christmas. I was probably watching the Doctor Who's first. I watched it like December 27, 92. I watched the whole thing in one go, and I absolutely loved it. It's still my favourite season of Red Dwarf. That's probably one of the reasons why, as much as a great a season as it is, I think that nostalgia, that potent memory of that, probably also makes an impact on why I love it so much. The other thing he sent me, and this cracks me up because it it shows how well he knew me. He sent me an episode. He sent me a tape with a couple of episodes of Neighbours on it, and he sent me a tape with a couple of episodes of Neighbours on, clearly from earlier in the year. So he'd clearly been saving them up for at least 5 months to send it to me for a Christmas present, given the timing schedules. Because he sent me a couple of episodes with a particular character on it, the original Cody, because he knew I was a huge fan of her. It still cracks me up. And I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but that was fantastic at the time. Because I mean, you have to, if you don't know the story, I emigrated in mid-91, and because the UK transmission of that show was a year behind the Australia transmission, I basically missed an entire year of the show. And of course, that was an entire year with what was then my favourite character in it. And I arrived in Australia literally 2 days before she left the fucking show, which really ticked me off at the time. So I was very upset by that. And I mean, you have to remember what it was like in the early 90s. There was no internet, there was no catch up, there was no anything, there was no anything. I mean, there was no way to even find out what had happened in that year that I'd missed, let alone get to see any of that stuff. So it had been like 18 months, and I got those episodes for Christmas, and that, honestly, that made my freaking Christmas. I can still remember, I think I stayed up late Christmas night and watched it, because I mean, I had a TV in my bedroom at that point, as most kids do. And I can still remember watching those episodes after everyone else had gone to bed. That made me a very happy teenage boy that Christmas, I will tell you that for nothing. Now, Christmas 93, I got quite a few. I got Doctor Who again. I got the Curse of Peladon and the Silurians. And I think I don't think it was my birthday because it would have been too early. I got the box set, the Dalek box set of The Chase and Remembrance of the Daleks. Now, I love The Chase. I'd never seen The Chase before. Obviously, I'd seen Remembrance. Curse I thought was okay. I'm really not a fan of it now. Probably the most potent memory then is seeing the Silurians for the very first time. I watched the whole thing on New Year's Eve, 1993, and I absolutely loved it. Now that's one of the last, because I mean, after that point I was basically becoming an adult, and when you become an adult and you start getting your own money, your Christmas presents start becoming a bit less important and a bit less memorable. I can't really remember anything I got for Christmas for the majority of the rest of the 90s. I may have got Downtime for Christmas, the Doctor Who spin-off with the Brigadier. I may have got that for Christmas 95, but I'm not entirely sure. The next one I can really remember was actually Christmas 2001, when I got the Master box set. I got Colony in Space and the Time Monster. Not the most exciting pairing of stories. Colony's okay. The Time Monster, I mean, I enjoyed it at the time when I first saw it because it was a new Doctor Who story. You know, it was new John Pertwee, it was new classic Who, which were becoming increasingly thin on the ground even then. I don't like it at all now, honestly. Christmas 2002, I got another box set. It was the William Hartnell box set that we got here in Australia. I don't know if it was released like that elsewhere. It was the last 3 Hartnell stories, near enough. The last 3 complete Hartnell stories, anyway, in the form of the Sensorites, the Gunfighters, and the Time Meddler. Now, I had a fair idea, even though I'd never seen them, I had a fair idea of which ones I was going to like. I watched the Gunfighters on Christmas Day evening, and I really enjoyed that. I kind of stretched Sensorites out in the following week. I had an idea I wasn't going to be a big fan of it somehow, and I wasn't. I don't think I've actually seen the whole thing the whole way through, actually. The Time Meddler, I actually saw some of the Time Meddler at a Doctor Who fan club back in '93, but I couldn't remember it. I didn't see the whole thing. I watched that New Year's Day, 2003. Fantastic. Still love that. It's probably my favourite William Hartnell story, to be perfectly honest with you. Again, we're getting nearer and nearer to today now. 2004 Christmas, I got the Reign of Terror VHS, which I enjoyed. I like the Reign of Terror. I still like the Reign of Terror. It's a good story. It's underrated in my opinion. And again, after that, I mean, I can't remember anything I got for Christmas between 2005 and 2011. Absolutely nothing. It's terrible, isn't it? 2012, 2013, I think I got a Misfits box set of the first 3 seasons. I'd never seen that show before. I really enjoyed that, even though season 3 is not as good as the first 2. I'm getting more up to date. 2016, I got the Power of the Daleks animation for Christmas. And the most recent one was 2019. I got a couple of interesting things then for Christmas. I got the Ghost Stories for Christmas box set. Still haven't seen all of them. I've seen several of them. I'm kind of watching one every year at Christmas. I've been enjoying them so far. And even though I'd said I wasn't going to buy them at that point, I actually got the season 19 Blu-ray set for Christmas 2019, which kind of converted me to buying the Blu-rays. I'd been saying I'm not buying them again, and then I kind of saw the picture quality of Castrovalva, and I'm like, okay, I see the point. Anyway, that's about it, I think. I hope you enjoyed this rumble back through memory lane. Obviously, the older you get, sadly, the less memorable Christmas becomes. But I enjoy poking around, having a look at some of the Christmases past. I hope you enjoy listening to it as well. That's about it for now. This is probably the last time I'll be speaking to you this year. There'll be a Christmas music video on Christmas Day, of course, as I tend to do, so be sure to tune in for that. Aside from that, I will speak to you again probably New Year's Day with the big 2021 overview. Until then, Merry Christmas.